In this crazy world that we live in, if we want to understand it a bit and understand God, then we should follow Rav Moshe Feinstein's advice. Because it is the path towards Uz Tovin Yiras Hashem, the path to understanding a bit of heaven. The following idea I am incredibly enthusiastic about, incredibly bullish, because it has helped me in unimaginable ways. The idea is rather natural, but if used right, if put into practice a bit more, the fruits are glorious. The clarity is perfect. And without wasting a moment, Rav Moshe Feinstein, you can find this piece in Darash Moshe and Rabbi Moses Feinstein's book on the Torah. Parshas Balak. The situation, the scene is that Vayakam Bilam Baboker. That Bilam set his alarm clock and arose early in the morning to go and curse the Jews. He was going to go on top of a mountain, perched up on high, looking down at the group of people, and he went traveling with the officers of Moab. After he has now gotten his fair share of honor, Balak has finally sent a fancy limo to pick him up. So after saying no a couple times, now this chauffeur seems to do the trick. Bilam opens the door, gets in the limo, and he's on his way. But on his way, the Torah is very descriptive about his getting there. The pasuk says, it's the very first pasuk in the third aliyah, Vayakam Bilam baboker, and Bilam arose in the morning. Vayachavosh es asono, and he girded his she-donkey with a saddle. Vayelech, and he went imsarei Moab along with the diplomats and the fancy people of Moab. Rashi seems to be immediately puzzled by something, and it would seem to be the fact that the Torah is very oddly descriptive about his travel plans. When people travel, normally we get one word, Vayelech Avraham, or he arose and went. But here we get the Vayakam, he arose. Who arose? Bilam. We may even know who we're talking about without saying Bilam. When did he arise? It was in the morning, baboker. That seems to be necessary. Vayachavosh, and what else did he do? He girded his she-donkey, es asono, it was a donkey he was taking, with all of the exact definitions, details, descriptions of his journey. What's it for? Why do we need it? There must be a lesson. We scroll down to the bottom of the screen towards Rashi, and Rashi tells us, to understand this pasuk, you must be informed by a certain medrash in Tanchum. And the medrash says as follows, Zokt, that just means says in Yiddish, Rashi. Vayachavosh es asono. When the Torah tells us that Bilam saddled, he girded his she-donkey, Mikan shehasino mikalkelas es ashura. From here we see that hatred, enmity, mikalkelas es ashura, it makes a person do some weird things. Shechavash hu ba'atzmo. Because Bilam, he saddled the donkey by himself. See, normally the way it works, it would seem, is that a high-end authority, a president of a company, a quasi-prophet like Bilam, would just call his chauffeur to be taken somewhere. Call a serf, an attendant, to saddle the donkey. But here, we find Bilam doing it himself. The takeaway, the idea, is that hatred clearly makes people do weird things because Bilam was so enthusiastic, so fired up about cursing the Jews that he woke up early in the morning and he called this chauffeur, opened the door for himself, and sat on the donkey ready to go. And then things level up in the Rashi. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Hashem told Bilam, Rasha, wicked one, Kevar Kadamcha Avraham Avinu. Someone's already beat you to it. The Jews' father, Avraham, he already beat you to the spot. Avraham arose early in the morning. He did it before you, and he saddled his donkey before you. We know that story from the binding of Isaac, the Akedah. Seems to be an idea that Bilam was trying to accomplish something, maybe find grace in the eyes of God. But Avram did it first. He saddled the donkey first. And Rav Moshe tries to make sense of this Rashi. Really, the question is already jutting out. What exactly did Avram beat him to? They have two totally different goals, two totally different objectives. Avraham Avinu beat Bilam towards waking up early? Is it a early morning wake-up contest? A bull riding who can saddle their donkey or ride it more fashionably? It's hardly the idea. So what is it that Hashem was addressing to Bilam that you should know that someone did this before you? What's the noseh? What's the nidon? What's the dagesh? What's the intent? What's the idea? What are we to do to make sense of this Rashi? Says, or zokt, Rav Moshe Feinstein, the great Gaon, Gadol, and Posek Hadar, the halachic decider of the generation, that there's an idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he asks of a nation, of his people, that they should do Torah and mitzvos. And they should do it with a certain amount of realness, a certain amount of genuineness. How should you search after Torah and mitzvos? Says Rav Moshe, well, like money, like you would search after anything else that you had any interest in. How would you search after your parnasa? However it is that you would search for your regular bodily needs, you should at least give that effort towards your Torah and mitzvos. Says Rav Moshe. Someone already says this very clearly, a prophet. In fact, the wisest man of all time tells us, you know how we should search after Torah and mitzvos? Like money, like cash, like bank, like ice, diamonds, financial matters. Yes. Search after Torah like money. You know where Shlomo HaMelech, the wisest of all men, said this? It's in Mishlei, in Proverbs, in chapter 2, verse 4. Im tivaksheno kakesef. If thou shalt search after it like money, surely you're aware, kesef is coin. V'chamat monim tachposena. And like treasure, you will seek to discover it, to unearth it. Oz Tovin Yiras Hashem. Then, and only then, after that mindset, will you understand fear of God. And normally we understand this as a mashal, an allegory, a metaphor. You should be excited about Torah like money. Rav Moshe says you read it quite literally. And surely you're aware of our approach here of learning at the Motivation Congregation is to take things in the most kindergarten-like way, to read the words for exactly what they say and not add any additional meaning. But at a very face level, a kindergarten-like way of understanding it is really, if you search after Torah like money, then you will understand God. So the effort that we put forth to our learning and davening should be the same amount of effort concurrent with the effort that we would put into our parnasa making. But if God forbid, continues Rav Moshe, if it should seem that the nation is more hurried, more alacritous to make bank, to make cash in this world, to get to the office on time, and to close their sidurim and their chumashim, but to be more chamatmonim, chamat monim tachpasena, much more money searching than the Torah and the mitzvos, well, then things are out of whack, and it can, God forbid, lead towards the downfall and the calamity, the tragedy of the Jewish people. Says Rav Moshe, that's what Bilam was trying to accomplish. He was rising early in the morning. This Chachem Bilam Harasha, Shevakesh Katroigim al Yisrael, he wanted to show Hashem that he was working harder than the Israelites. Les Vazos, he was degrading himself for his cause. Velachavosh ba'atzmo, he was literally saddling the donkey by himself, like a mensch flying in coach because he's trying to go make a buck at the city fair. He was arising early in the morning at that 5 a.m. wake-up call, way before everyone attends Daf Yomi or Davins Vasikin. Bilam was trying to make a bad look, some sort of curse to befall the Israelites because he was working harder to curse, to do things in this world than the Jews were to accomplish Torah and mitzvos. But Baruch Hashem, but thank the Almighty, Rashi continues, but we were protected. Why? Oh, why were we protected? Because, as Rashi told us, Kivar, already someone has beat you to it. Kivar kadam Avraham Avinu. Avram, their father, he already gave his all. He already instilled into the very foundation and the bones, the structure and the exoskeleton of these people that they are hard-working, blue-collar folk for the Almighty. As it says, Vayashkim Avraham baboker, Vayachavoshes chamoro. Avraham Avinu, in the ultimate moment of truth, he set his alarm and became a part of that 5 a.m. club, and he flew coach to go across the world to do Torah and mitzvos, to slaughter his son because the Almighty told him to. So that ain't going to work, Bilam, that little trick. Because just like a crazy, wild, small forward powering his way down the court to try to make a bucket, but instead the defense steps in front of him and is ready to take the charge, to draw the offensive foul. Hopefully you get the metaphor. Hopefully I've given over the clear picture. So too you, Bilam. You're trying to score a bucket, but you're banging into someone who's already set himself up to take the charge. And therefore, it's an offensive foul. Failure. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Avraham Avinu protected us this time. But the chiddush, the takeaway, the idea, the mindset that makes understanding God possible is im tevakshena kakesef. That there is this t'nai, this little bit of a kitrog, a little bit of a decree that could come out onto the Jews if they work harder, or someone is working harder for something that isn't Torah and mitzvos. Working harder than the Jews. Sleeping in and just working the 9 to 5 for the Torah and mitzvos. This is actually the advice, this piece from Rav Moshe. It was the advice that I had gotten, that I received. As soon as I was going into Kollel, I was flabbergasted about the advice that I received from my Rosh Yeshiva, but he told me the same thing. Now, son, you should know. Well, he said, student, you should know. Michal, you should know that as you are entering into the married life and going to Kollel, full-time Torah study to begin your matrimony, you should know that you are going to work. It is a 9 to 5. It's a job. You're a lawyer and you're studying the Talmud. And tavak shenek hakesef. Work like Avram. Wake up early in the morning and learn like you're going to work to make cash. I thought, Rabbi, holy Rosh Yeshiva, what are you saying? How could this be? But over and over, his words, they've saved me. Because alavai that we should treat Torah like we treat money. And alavai that we should treat our Torah study like a 9 to 5. And alavai that every Rashi and every Ramban and every Kesois and every Nesivis and every Nesiv Shalom and every Das Torah and every Michtam Eliyahu should be seen as another blue, crisp, Benjamin Franklin-faced $100 bill. Im tevakshena kesef, in the most basic way. When a person wakes up late at his office, he's a doctor, there are no excuses. Oh, I missed my alarm. No. You see him in his scrubs running through the New York turnstiles and the subways to get to his job on time and to clock in on time with that same mindset. That should be taken towards Torah study. The same realness, the same searching to uncover and unearth buried treasure. If you've ever seen those interesting looking fellows walking on the beach with that metal detector circling it around, normally they have an odd looking child next to them for whatever reason, but they're walking and I guess they find things because they're rather popular. I see them everywhere for my frequent beach visits. But they're uncovering things, and as soon as they get a hit, they start to dig more, dig. That's how we should be when we learn the Talmud, when we learn the Gemara. When something doesn't add up, you've hit something. Beep, 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 beep. Something doesn't add up. What does Rava hold? What does Abaye hold? How could this be? Doesn't Rashi know that Tosfos has cited a blatant contradiction to this Gemara in the way that he understands it? You've struck gold. You begin to dig. You begin to look for the Ritva. You pop open the Kovetz. You begin to check the Rashba. What does Rabbi Aaron Kotler say on the topic? What does Maimonides say? Oh, we got to open up Reb Shach to figure out in Avi Ezri how to make sense of why the Rambam doesn't see the Gemara the same way. You dig, lest there be gold or buried treasure on the beach. That's what it means to search after it like gold. Only then, with this mindset, do you understand God. People get very unfriendly in business. They become leopard-like. And with a very stoic face after they've made a shrewd but permitted business deal, a smart deal, but it was shrewd, it was brazen maybe, bold. They say, don't worry about it. No hard feelings. It's just business. You've heard that before? It's just business. And I'm not here to tell you if it's right or if it's wrong. But I'd love just once for somebody to say, it's just Torah. Because it's so real to them that my pshat, the way I understand it, is so real. It is so bold. It is so brazen that no, I'm davening here. And I know that you want to distract me. I know that you're trying to get me to say Lashon Hara, but I'm sorry. I will not listen to Lashon Hara. You'll make a bold deal with honesty and integrity. Make a shrewd deal of that. I'm sorry, there will be no Lashon Hara at this table. Maybe then. And we're as bold as a leopard, like we're supposed to be, like Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema told us. For Torah and not just for business, then all is tov and yiras Hashem because we're searching after it like money. You hear people all the time traveling across the world for business, overnighters without family, going to purchasing shows. What about searching for the Rebbe, for the Sefer, for the mitzvah? Traveling with that same thirst. Because you know that that next mitzvah is another crisp $100 bill, or maybe it's even a multifamily property that has a 12% return. And this last piece, the idea of flying different places, that's not just popping out of my belly. This is from the holy pen of the Vilna Gaon. In his comment on this pasuk in Mishlei, says the Gra, Reb Eliyahu mi Vilna v'ha'inyan shehe neged Torah mitzvos. The money, the coin, and the treasure is referring to Torah and mitzvos. Shela Torah, for Torah tzarich lavakesh kakesef. You need to search after it like money. Ve'leilech me'ir le'ir. You need to go to town, umimedina lemedina lilmo Torah. V'zehu im tevakshena kakesef. Hainu la Torah. You heard that there's a Rebbe in the next town over who gives the most incredible Gemara shir? Well, then Uber over there. Let it be real to you that if there was a business deal, you'd make time for it. Let the Torah, let the davening, let the mitzvah land on you in the same way. Because im tevakshena kakesef. V'chamat monim tachbasena. When you search after it like cash and search after it like treasure. Oz, tovin, yiras Hashem. Then you will understand God. It was this area that Bilam tried to get us. To wake up early and to saddle his donkey by himself. To show more enthusiasm, more drive, more of a work ethic for his cause than the Jews were for their cause. That was to be part of the curse, part of the way that this curse would land, would manifest itself. But thank God for Avraham Avinu, the model student, the teacher's honor roll student, Avraham Avinu. He already beat Bilam to the spot and showed that work ethic for Torah. Our job is to mimic Avram, to mimic our grandfather, to saddle the donkey early in the morning and to saddle it by ourselves, to search after Torah like we search after money. And it's not a bizayon to the Torah. These are the words of Shlomo HaMelech. With this mindset, with this new approach, a very real, honest attitude about the reality of Torah and mitzvos and how real they are to us, it can be, and Emir Hashem should be, the first step towards Oz Tovin Yiras Hashem, understanding HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Kilam